Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. We are back here on MFSN's Waiver Wire for basketball. And I'm here today, as always. No, not as always. Vlad to the Bone, Casey Scheinfeld's not here, but I am here with Ross the Boss.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk basketball waiver wire with you, cowboy. It's going to be a great waiver wire. This is our last waiver wire before the playoffs start. So make sure you listen. Even though you think you heard everything, we got some new stuff for you, so just be ready.
That's right. And as I always say, even if we have some old stuff for you, it's still the good stuff. So it doesn't matter whether it's old or new. You need to know what you need to know. Now, let's remember, just reminding the audience, 60% and under in Yahoo leagues. There's lots of different leagues on lots of different sites, but that's kind of the baseline that we're working with here. I also wanted to remind people, if you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below. Ross and I will get back to you. We love to talk fantasy sports. So, Ross, let's talk about the very first thing we really should be talking about on a waiver wire show when it comes to basketball playoffs, which is how many games are teams playing. Now, I pulled up a handy-dandy list, as you're going to like, and it lists what number of games each team is playing. Now, in this current week, and I made reference to this on our Twitter site, the Pistons and the Raptors are each playing 5 games. But guess what? That's bad news for you Raptors owners, because in championship week, week 17, guess how many games, Ross, the Raptors are playing?
I say 2.
You are correct, sir.
Yes.
As Ed McMahon would say, yes, you are correct.
Correct. And that's an important fact, because you're probably in the playoffs right now. There's probably 1 week left regular season, and then we go into the playoffs. So your team made the playoffs, or they didn't. But that being said, you got to prepare for playoffs, like Dr. Dan just told you. And having a couple Raptors on your team can destroy your playoff chances to win the championship. So that's an important fact.
Yeah, so listen, if you're in your semifinal week, keep your Raptors because they play 4 games. That's great. You know what I'm going to do, Ross? I think people will like this. I'm going to read the list of teams that have only 3 games in that semifinal week, and then I'm going to do
this is the week before for the semifinals, not the final week. This is the semifinals, the teams that have only 3 games.
This is next week.
So be aware, Will Robinson, be aware. Go.
Yes, danger, Will Robinson. Okay, the Detroit Pistons, the Atlanta Hawks, the Boston Celtics, my Cleveland Cavaliers, the Denver Nuggets, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Portland Trailblazers, and the Philadelphia 76ers. If you have players on those teams who are kind of fringe guys, cut them and pick up a guy who has 4 games. Then we go to the championship week. And these are the teams that have only 3 games. The Dallas Mavericks, the LA Clippers, Ross's LA Clippers, Minnesota Timberwolves, New Orleans Pelicans, New York Knicks, Oklahoma City Thunder, Utah Jazz, LA Lakers, Orlando Magic, and Sacramento Kings. And as mentioned before, the Toronto Raptors have only 2. If you have fringe guys in those, you also may want to consider cutting them. And look, even if you've got a really good player,
like Luka, let's say I have Luka, right? And he only has 3 games that week. I should cut him and pick up some really bad player, correct?
No, Ross, steer clear. Okay. Steer clear. I love how you play dumb for the audience to allow us to have that question. Don't worry, everybody. Ross the Boss knows not to cut Luka Doncic. But listen, you're going to need to find, this is all the more, if you have Luka Doncic, it's all the more reason you want to cut your fringe guys to bring in 4-game people, because you do have to make up for the fact that you're missing
having an extra game, even with the guy that's kind of equal on the other side, is really, really important. And that's a great fact to have.
Okay. So that's what we should be doing on the Waiver Wire show now. And now we're going to get into the actual players. So Ross, we're going to go to point guards. Now, you usually like me to come to you first, but if you'd like me to start off, I certainly can.
We can go back and forth. I'll start off. I'll name a couple. You can name a couple. Then
go ahead. Give me.
Then we'll just name a few more. So this guy, we talk about him every week, and every week I think, okay, he's not going to get the playing time. LeVert's there. You got Holiday there. They got point guards there. You know, this guy is a great guy to come off the bench, but he's not going to get you numbers. Ross the Boss is like, wow. This week he had a game. He had like 15 points, 15 rebounds, 20 assists in a game. I mean, this guy's been killing it. TJ McConnell. I mean, his stats in the past couple weeks have just been unbelievable. If you can pick him up, especially for the assists category, it's somebody you should pick up immediately. and don't worry about playing time. They're playing him. The coach loves him. So don't think Levert's there. Oh, he's getting playing time. Don't listen to anybody else. Pick up TJ McConnell as your point guard, unless you have Lillard or something. But if you don't, pick up TJ. He's a great pickup right now, and he has a lot of games coming up. Another guy that we've talked about a million times is Seth Curry. Seth Curry is getting more playing time. The Sixers are resting some players because of their playoff run. So Seth Curry is going to get the ball a lot. He's going to shoot a lot. He's going to get assists, rebounds. Seth Curry, for me, is a great pickup right now. I feel that he'll really do well in the next couple of weeks.
I think these are great points. And I also do want to say this, following Ross's point, this is a point generally for the waiver wire. With a guy like TJ McConnell, it would be one thing if you wanted to say for maybe 2 weeks into the Karis LeVert return that he's going to get his numbers to go down. You can speculate and try to be smart. But if you see that it keeps happening, that he's getting the playing time, let your eyes see what's actually happening. He's a great player. Another guy that I want to mention, I mentioned him last week, Tomas Saderansky of the Bulls. This guy is putting up McConnell numbers, except he hits threes and free throws. Although McConnell usually hits free throws, but he doesn't get to the line much. Saderansky actually gets to the line a fair amount. So this guy is a very valuable point guard to have. I happen to have scooped him up in our league, so I'm glad I have him. DeAnthony Melton is another guy that we've mentioned a lot. I think he's a bit dinged up right now.
He's been injured, then he comes back and he gets hurt again. But it's still a good pickup. If you need a guard, he's not a bad pickup right now.
What, Ross? Let me ask you this: what do you think about Rajon Rondo? I don't even know what his ownership is.
I don't either. But Rajon Rondo, I watched him play his first game with the Clippers. I mean, he's not shooting much, but he is getting assists. Again, in the category of assists, if you need somebody, and the steals too, steals and assists, he's a good guy to pick up right now. I feel he'll get more playing time when the season goes on. They want to get him ready for the playoffs. And Rondo is the leader right now of that team. He's the veteran they never had. And he played really well, and the Clippers are playing great. So Rondo's a good pickup. But again, he's not going to get you any points.
No, but listen, I mean, it's interesting. I was like, oh, I wonder if is Rondo over 60% owned? He is 3% owned.
Yeah.
3%. And I'm not surprised that he's not more than 60% owned, but Rondo would be a good pickup. He's one of these guys that if he's got 4 games in a week, you grab him. So the Clippers, I think, have 4 in that next week, but not the following one. I'd grab him. Okay, let's do some shooting guards. This time I will start us off. All right? Are you fine with that, Ross?
There's one more point guard I just want to say really quick.
Let's do it.
He plays for Toronto, and Van Fleet's been hurt, and so has Lowry. So they've been playing this guy named Malachi Flynn. I hope I said that right. He's been averaging 11 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in the past 7 days. He's playing like 30 minutes a game just because Van Fleet's hurt. Check out Van Fleet's injuries. I don't know how extensive they are, but this guy's getting a lot of playing time. And I know Toronto's not going to be playing much in championship week, but if you need somebody for the next couple weeks, pick him up.
Yep. And listen, if Fred VanVleet is not going to be back for most of next week, you can cut him all together because he's got a 2-game finals week. Okay. Shooting guard, number 1 shooting guard has been a guy that I've been beating the drum for the whole year. Danny Green. He ranks 17th in all of Yahoo over the last 30 days. So that's pretty good. Now, a guy that has really surprised me is Bogdan Bogdanovich. If you practice,
say that 5 times in a row. Bogdan Bogdanovich. I can't do it.
I said it twice, and then I just and then I needed a sandwich or something. I ran out of energy. Jason Tate is another one.
I like Deshaun, Ohio State kid. Houston's playing those young guys. It's a great pickup.
And of course, average Joe Ingles. Now, I'm not going to hog them all. I'm going to turn it over to you because shooting guard is actually, I think, a very deep position.
It's pretty good. I mean, another guy that's been playing great the past week. He's averaging 19 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He plays for your Denver Nuggets. It's Will Barton. And Will Barton has been playing great. I'm not a big Will Barton fan. I think he's kind of like mediocre at best, and he's up and down with the stats. But he's been playing consistently the past week. In Denver, as we said, they do have a lot of games coming up. So if you need a shooting guard, I think he also plays small forward too. But that all being said, Will Barton could be a good pickup for you, especially if you need points on your team.
He's been great. In fact, he's on my team, but he also steals. He steals the ball.
Yep.
He gets blocks. He gets threes. He's had 34 threes in the last 30 days. He's putting up big numbers across the board, and his shooting percentages are totally fine. So I actually recommend him very highly.
Very highly, Dr. Dan recommends him, and he's available like in 70-something% of leagues. He's not that well respected in fantasy basketball.
Well, I think that's because you're going to have guys like that who are always bouncing in and off the wire, and Will Barton's been that way for about 4 years. So people think he is.
Yeah, he's not consistent. He's really not. And I know he can have a game tonight scoring 2 points. I mean, that could happen.
But I think he's pulling a little bit of a Jordan Clarkson, not necessarily as the same total type of player, but as a guy who used to bounce in and off the wire, but now is solid value, and you should just hold. Another guy, though, who scores a lot but doesn't give you a whole lot else is Dylan Brooks. He gets you steals. So we got a lot of good shooting guards. And, Saddiq Bey is somebody we've been talking about. He's great until the championship week because he, I think, has only 3 games that week.
He's been slowing down. I have him in my league. I think I cut him. He's been really slowing down. I mean, he's somebody that's not getting the playing time, and they got other players during the trade deadline in Detroit. So Bey has not been what he was like 3 weeks ago.
Let me mention one more guard. This is a guy who's getting a fair amount of assists and decent number of points and things like that. It's Delon Wright of Sacramento. He's point guard, shooting guard, and small forward. That's excellent position flexibility. Just someone to mention if you're looking for cheap assists. All right, we're going to go small forward. And Ross, you get to start us off.
So I'm going to start you off with a guy that plays for Charlotte, Miles Bridges. You're saying, why am I saying Miles Bridges? Well, in the past 2 weeks, he's been like a top 50 player. He's been averaging 14 points a game, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He's been getting steals, blocks. He's been doing everything he can to win a game for Charlotte. Charlotte's on the cusp of making the playoffs. He is a key role because of the injury of Ball. So I suggest you pick up Mr. Miles Bridges. Another guy that's playing consistent. I know he's old. I know he's an old guy. And you're saying, Ross, why do you want to pick up this old dinosaur? And I'm saying, because Rudy Gay is playing unbelievable. This guy is averaging like 15 points a game, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He's blocking. He's like he's rejuvenized there in San Antonio. He's playing unbelievable. Rudy Gay is playing great, and I think he's available. I think he's like available in like 80% of the leagues too. He's not that well respected in fantasy at all, but he's getting a lot of playing time, and Pop loves him. And again, he's getting a lot of playing time. And another guy that we talked about last week who I love is Terence Mann. He plays for your LA Clippers, Florida State kid. He's getting a lot of playing time. The Clippers are going to rest Leonard, and they'll probably rest some of the other starters when they get closer to the playoffs. So just be aware Terence Mann's going to get a lot of playing time. They love playing this young kid, and he's fun to watch, and he does everything, all categories. So
very important point, though, that Ross is making. We talked about the amount of games teams are playing. Very important that we also recognize the context of the team and which stars are going to end up sitting.
Yeah, because the Clippers, George is going to sit, Leonard's going to sit, Rondo's going to sit for sure. But I mean, the young guys like Mann who love to get out, and Kennard who love to go out there and play, they'll be out there every game. So no worries. So if you pick up Terence Mann, he'll be out there playing his heart out because he wants to be there and play in the playoffs. So there you go.
And you really do need to understand the players. Here, I'll give you another small forward that we've mentioned certainly before is Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder, he's the kind of guy who's never going to sit. He's just not. He wouldn't. I don't think he would allow it. Maybe the coach would overrule him, but he's going to be in a lot. KJ Martin Jr. We've talked about him a lot.
Yep.
He's on a Houston team. There's no way they're not going to put him out there.
No, he's playing Houston. If you're under 23, you're starting for the Houston Rockets, unless you're John Wall. John Wall had 30 points last night. They'll play John as long as he's wants to play. He's been sitting out a lot, but it's a youth movement in Houston. I see what they're doing. It's a smart move. They're not going to win this year, probably won't next year, but they have a lot of draft picks. They'll be good in the future. Mark my words on that.
Now, let me ask you this. I've talked about Matisse Thybulle a number of times. What's your take on him, Ross?
I watched him because you told me about him, and he's not consistent enough for me. I know he's a big defensive guy. He's just not consistent for me. I can't pull the trigger of
okay, but if he's got a 4-game week, He gets you steals and blocks. And
I know he's great. He's a great defensive guy.
He does
but
that consistently. He doesn't do anything else.
Yeah, nothing else.
Nothing else.
You know who else I like, Dr. Dan? I like your rookie in Cleveland. I like Isaac Okoro.
Oh, yeah.
In the past 2 weeks, he's been averaging 13 points a game, like 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He's been getting 30 minutes a game. I know you're a big Cavs fan, and I think the Cavs is another team that's going to play the young guys. I mean, Kevin Love's healthy. He's playing like 10 minutes a game. So again, you got to pick up these young guys on these teams that are not going to be in the playoffs or kind of gave up for the year, like the Minnesotas, the people like those type of teams that are not going to make the playoffs, Sacramento, places like that, because they're going to play the young players. They're going to sit the veterans. They're going to see what these young guys can play. And that's where you can swoop in and kind of grab these guys and do well during your playoffs.
Now, remember, don't mistake the Knicks for being one of those teams.
I never say the Knicks.
No, I wasn't saying
Houston. Houston's one of them. I mean, no, the Knicks will make the playoffs.
No, I'm following your point. The Knicks are going to make the playoffs, so they're not going to just turn their young guys loose, and that makes a guy like Reggie Bullock maybe actually valuable. He's going to play. If he was playing on the Houston Rockets, he might not get any playing time because they want to play the super young guys. All right, now let's move to power forward. I'm going to start with one of my favorites. I picked him up, and I put him in my lineup, and he promptly basically gave me a goose egg. I can't believe it. But even so, I'm still going to recommend him. Jaden McDaniels. Speaking of a young team that's going to play those young guys, Minnesota. See, I have Karl Anthony Towns. If they shut Karl Anthony Towns down, that's going to be a problem for me. But now I have Jaden McDaniels. So if that happens, I just swap him out. Jaden McDaniels is an extremely poor man's cat. So he is my top recommendation at power forward if you can't get Kelly Olynyk. This guy, everybody said he was dead in the water when he went to Houston. Well, they're playing the young guys, but they're also playing Kelly Olynyk. He's going crazy. He's 20th overall over the last 30 days. Those are my top 2 power forward recommendations. Ross, tell me where I went wrong.
Can you say that? I love how you say this guy's name, Chuma Okeke. Can you say it for me?
Chuma Okeke.
Okeke. Chuma Okeke has been unbelievable. This guy has been getting 30 minutes a game, 14 points a game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He's doing blocks. Pick him up. If you need a power forward, this is the guy. And plus, you can walk around town saying his name because he's on your team. Okeke.
Hey, Ross, yeah. That was great. You sounded like Borat there. You said he was doing blocks.
Doing blocks. That's how much. So Okeke to me is a great pickup if you need a power forward. Again, he's just saying his name makes me feel good. You know, you say Okeke and you feel good about it. You feel good. It's unbelievable. I'm like
for the soul.
Another guy that's not respected in leagues. If you need 3-point shooting, this guy averages 4 3-pointers a game. He's horrible in rebounds, and he's 7 feet tall. It's unbelievable. If I was 7 feet tall, I'd be underneath grabbing rebounds, not shooting 3-pointers. But he's averaging 14 points a game. He does get rebounds. He gets like 4 rebounds a game. I was just kidding. And 2 assists. It's Davis Bertans. Davis is European, of course, because that's what 7-footers do in Europe. They shoot 3-pointers. But he'll help you in those categories. He's not going to block any shots, and he's not going to win you any rebounding titles. But if you need 3-pointers and a guy that's going to play a lot of minutes, especially with Robin Lopez kind of hurt a little bit, he's the guy you should pick up at center, power forward. I think he's eligible for both, but I like him a lot.
I'm glad you clarified that he's European, because when I hear the name Davis Bertans, I'm expecting some very, very rich kid who went to Phillips Exeter and Davis Bertans from Europe. That's a different story. All right, I didn't mean to cut you off. I had to go on a Davis.
And the last one, power forward, I mentioned before, is Marcus Morris Sr. He goes by, we call him Senior in LA. He plays for the LA Clippers. Not his brother who plays for the Lakers, but this is Senior. He's averaging like 14 points a game. He's like 5 rebounds. He's shooting threes like crazy. Again, another Clipper that gets a lot of playing time that's not going to rest. This guy doesn't want to rest. And the cool thing is his brother, twin brother, they both went to Kansas, plays for the Lakers. And when the Lakers played the Clippers, I think they played on Sunday, they walked in together. Like they were like basically like best friends, like talking in the tunnel.
Well, they used to be on the same team. I think they were both on Phoenix for a while, right?
They were both on Phoenix, but it's so nice to see two brothers, very competitive teams, and they're like best friends before the game. I thought I wouldn't talk to my brother before a game like that, but for some reason he does. But Senior is great with 3-pointers, and he'll get rebounds. And again, he's going to get a lot of playing time for your LA Clippers. So if you need a power forward like himself, it's a good pickup right now.
Okay, now we're going to move to center, which I think is usually the hardest position to fill. There's just not a couple guys.
You can go first if you want.
Want me to go first? All right.
Go ahead.
Listen, first of all, Kelly Olynyk does qualify as a center, so he's going to be my top pick.
Kelly Olynyk's a good one. I like that one.
Ivica Zubac, he's a back end guy, and he only qualifies as center, not power forward, so he's got some limitations, but he's putting up good rebounds. His points are fine, and his shooting numbers are quite good. I mean, a .602 field goal percentage, that could win you your playoff matchup. So don't sleep on him. He's a guy, if he's got 4 games, then he's going to shoot that level of field goal percentage. And meanwhile, his free throw percentage is .818. So he's got great percentages. If you're in a matchup where the percentages are going to be key, Zubac is a great pickup. Those are 2 of my recommendations. Ross, you jump in now.
Well, of course, Jeff Green does qualify as a center, so I'll just say his name, but I know he qualifies for like every position, but he does qualify for center. I'm just making sure the audience knows that. Cody Zeller for the Charlotte Hornets, he's been playing really well lately. He's been averaging 10 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, almost a block a game. He's playing like 20, 25, 30 minutes a game right now. Cody Zeller could be a good pickup for you. Robin Lopez, he got hurt, but when he wasn't hurt, he was getting a lot of playing time there in Washington. And the last one is one of my favorite names in the NBA. He plays for Orlando. No, but pretty close. He plays for Orlando. It's Mo Bamba. I love that name, Mo Bamba. Let me have Mo money, Mo Bamba.
Is it Mo Bamba or Mo
plays
Bamba?
For Orlando. He's been playing a lot. He'll rebound a lot of rebounds. If you need rebounds and blocks, he's your guy. He's not going to score you like 20 points a game. He's not going to do that. But he is going to do well in all the other categories. He's even gets a few assists here and there. So that all being said, like you said, the center category isn't strong, but you do want to get ready for the playoffs. You want to be ready. You want to make sure your team's healthy. Just drop anybody who's not going to be playing the next 3 weeks, drop immediately. I may even drop LeBron. It's not crazy if I drop LeBron because he's not playing. That'd be unbelievable. That'd be the best.
If he's not coming back. Hey.
But you could probably keep him in injury reserve. So don't drop him.
Don't drop him if you can hold.
But if you don't have injury reserve in your league and you need that roster spot, you could tell people in the future you drop LeBron James. That's a great statement.
Like during championship week. That's bold. Now, meanwhile, I just want to highlight before we wrap up here. You said Robin Lopez. I just want to say, are you aware of his nickname among fantasy circles? It's Sideshow Bob.
Because of the hair.
Because of the hair, he looks like Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons. So I just wanted to highlight that. I couldn't hear Robin Lopez without saying Sideshow Bob.
No, and this is our last waiver wire show of the season, which is kind of sad. We had a great time this year. We did give some great future picks and future like development guys that if they didn't pop this year, they're going to pop next year. But it's been a great season, and I wish everybody well. And you guys can go on our site anytime and ask us questions during the playoffs, and I promise you, one of us will answer them. But you have to get your roster ready for the playoffs. That's a must. And listen to the names we said, and make sure you cut the guys that aren't doing anything right now.
Okay, so if you haven't already, click subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. Hit like if you like what you're hearing. And like Ross was saying, put your comments below and we'll get back to you. Also, our baseball waiver wire started just yesterday. It's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Wednesdays. Don't miss it. We'll be doing the same thing here, but there will be no basketball players. I'm sorry, but that's the way we roll on Baseball Waiver Wire. Thank you for a great season watching basketball. Good luck in the playoffs, and we will see you soon.
We're gonna set the internet on